Hey, how's it going, everybody? Checking into here today with Mauricio. He's from Boston, right? Or no, Massachusetts, like around that area.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah, Massachusetts. He's over on the East Coast, and he has a really interesting story as far as chiropractic. So we'll go right into it. Mauricio, you're planning to go to chiropractic school. What school are you going to?
Yeah. So after so many schools and so many options that I've had, I ultimately decided, as of today, at least, to go to the New Zealand College of Chiropractic
Mhm.
in Auckland. England.
Nice, nice. And what came to that decision? You're over in the US and you're gonna go to New Zealand. So
Yeah.
what came into that? What came in play?
Yeah, totally. Well, I I guess I would have to go back to sort of share my story with chiropractic and how I got to what is chiropractic for me. It happened back in 2018, where at the time I was living in Spain in 2017. And I was just working. And one day I got up and I was getting my clothes from the chair that I had right next to my bed.
Mhm.
And I felt this tug on my leg. And it was the most physical pain I've ever felt in my life. It felt like a shock to my body. I had to drop to my bed. I couldn't move. The pain was very confusing. I was just shocked. It was a very shocking moment for me.
Yeah.
Um, I had no idea what was going on. A fraction of a second before I was fine, and then just a second later I was in bed. I'm pretty tolerant to pain, but I was crying. The pain was so it was it was just super confusing. I was in a very tough moment. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I didn't know what was going on, and anywho, I
Was
had my
was
phone
that your
with.
first time experiencing that type of pain?
Yeah, my first time came out of nowhere. I had no prior pain that sort of alarmed me, if anything.
Mm.
Um, so I luckily had my phone with me, and my roommates were home. Luckily, they came home before the ambulance did.
Mm.
Um, so the ambulance came. I went down with them. Very, very painful. I felt stuck. And anyway, I go to the hospital and they give me some injections. And long story short, I had to move in with family that I had in Spain
Yeah.
because I really um, walk. I couldn't really get up from bed. I couldn't sit down by myself or get up by myself. I had this constant need of going to the bathroom. It was super strange what happened in a matter of a second. And
Yeah.
um, continue going to the doctor. They referred to physical therapy. But before I actually got a date to go to the physical therapist, I came back to the US and
Mhm.
came to my parents' house in Massachusetts. Um, that led to another journey of trying to figure out what's going on with my body because the pain kind of fluctuated. Certain days it got better, but other days it was just, I
Yeah.
couldn't, I sit down for what I'm doing now. I couldn't do like sit down for more than 5 minutes. I could not do. I had to get up. My legs would fall asleep all the
Yeah.
time. It was super strange. Um,
Oh, there's this whole time, like ever since that first initial indication of pain, you've just been dealing with it, even though you'd had medication or like
oh yeah,
had different exercises.
yeah. The pain was all day, all night. So I would sleep, but maybe wake up 5 or 6 times during the night.
Yeah.
Take much pain medication that I would forget how many I would take per day, and
Oof.
that still wouldn't even take away the pain. It would kind of just sort of numb the pain, but I felt it
Right.
there.
Right.
Um, some days were better, I guess, but it was still there, and I had a lot of fear of moving because
Hmm.
um, I was like, what if I'm in an airplane or what if I'm driving and what
Mm.
if I don't know anything in a weird situation, you put yourself in danger. So I um, went to the regular medical doctor because up until that point I had no idea about chiropractic. I didn't grow up with chiropractic. My family had no idea. I had
Mm.
no idea. I had no knowledge of what chiropractic was. So in that process, I YouTube videos started to pop up on my feed about chiropractic, and that was my initial sort of exposure to chiropractic. And it was during that time where I was like, oh, I'm seeing people that have sort of the same conditions I have that are getting better with chiropractic.
Yeah.
Because I went the regular medical doctor, and they did some CAT scans, then sent me to a neurosurgeon, and they recommended back surgery.
Ooh.
The thing that tilted it for me was the neurosurgeon said, you need back surgery because you have herniations in your lower back.
Yeah.
And you'll feel better, or you'll feel better. Maybe you'll feel the same. There's a chance you'll feel worse. So
That doesn't sound good.
doesn't feel good or promising, right?
Yeah.
I was 25 at the time. I said, I can't. This is totally able. I'm not doing this surgery. There has to be another solution for me regarding my back. So I tell them about the chiropractor because I just share with them what I've been seeing on YouTube.
Right.
And they're like, no, be careful, twisting and turning, chiropractic, whatever. So I was like, I have nothing to lose. I need to see if I can get better any other way, right? So I go to Texas. So I was in Massachusetts. I go to Houston, Texas.
Okay.
If you're familiar with YouTube chiropractic, I'm sure people out there know Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnson is the one with the ring dinger, right?
Yeah, with the ring dinger.
Yeah.
So I go to him because I see people that have this exact same posture I had. I was kind of bent over, couldn't really walk.
Yeah.
The same thing. So I was like, I need to go see this guy because again, I didn't know about chiropractors in my town. I had no knowledge of chiropractic. I very limited knowledge. I still have limited knowledge because I'm still not in chiropractic college, but at that time it was very limited. So I go to Dr. Johnson's office, and I went for 3 days. So it was 2 treatments per and just 3 days. During that time, I was still pretty skeptical. My family was skeptical. I was like, are you sure you want to go? You're spending this money, which was cheap, but it was worth every cent that I spent on that treatment. So I go, and during my time there, I was still feeling kind of achy because I remember in the waiting room, I was sitting down. I had to stand up. I was really uncomfortable the whole time there. But I come back home, and I think it was about a week after I left Houston. And I remember that I was sitting down in the kitchen table, and I was able to lift my leg up sitting down, something I couldn't before. I couldn't lift an inch my legs from the ground. And then I started moving. I was like, oh, my pain is not there anymore. I can bend over. My legs aren't falling asleep anymore. It was kind of like a sudden realization that my pain was gone.
Oh, yeah.
And that for me was a before and after in my life. It was a life-changing moment to realize how much chiropractic changed my reality. And that's when I said, there's something else to this. This is more than just my hurt and now my back doesn't hurt. It's more. There's more to this. Why, what's going on? So I was like, I want to help people the same way I've been helped. So that's when I started. This was April 2018. That's when I started looking into becoming a chiropractor. I looked up everything I needed to know. And yeah, that was kind of how I came into chiropractic, through pain. But
nice, yeah.
and maybe we'll speak to this further, in the interview, but chiropractic for me is more than just pain or pain relief.
Yeah.
There's so much more to this profession, this wonderful profession that for me, it brings me a lot of passion. So yeah, it was when I found chiropractic and when I decided I want to do this, and I'm in this right now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just to put it in perspective, like the plane trip there and back, the treatments, that was probably like tipping like $1,000, right? Or
Yeah.
something close to that price range. Now, like
Yeah.
if you would have gone the surgery route, probably even more than $1,000, but not guaranteed that you'll be pain free after that. So a lot of
Yeah.
people are like they're scared by the initial price. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I spent a good amount of money, but I probably would have spent more surgery and still not would have gotten like lasting effects.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would spend 10 times more than what I spent because it gave me the ability to walk again, to sleep
Hmm.
again, to work again, um, and a recovery time of 0 days because really I
Yeah.
didn't need to save for the few days that I was there. It gave my life back in that moment,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
yeah,
how long were you dealing with that pain before you visited the chiropractor?
it was about almost 9 months.
9 months. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost
And that's just like
9 months.
debilitating, hardly able to sit. It's-
Yeah, no, I remember I would sit down and I'd have to get up in 2 3 minutes because my legs would fall asleep or it would just hurt
Jeez.
like my body. I would feel like, especially my back and my legs, but it would like creep
Yeah.
up to my neck. The pain.
Ooh.
It was. I had to sleep on the ground. I could not sleep in any sort of mattress because it would just ache. And I in any position that I would put myself in, um, it was very hard.
Yeah.
And dry. There were days I couldn't work because I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough moment, but yeah, I luckily got out of it.
Well, I'm happy to hear, man. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, the ring digger is a white strap that he uses to do like a long traction. Did you have that done on you?
Yeah. So Dr. Johnson, really likes to distinguish the Y strap from his ring dinger. I don't
Uh,
know the specific or the science behind the difference, if there is any.
yeah.
But yeah, he essentially now he has his own table. Before it was kind of a makeshift table. Uh,
Mm,
but yeah, it was essentially kind of like the Y strap. You would wrap your neck with a towel and have like that thrust, you know. And the first time it was painful. I'm
oh
not gonna
yeah.
lie. Yeah, it was like a shock to my body. Like what just happened?
Yeah.
I went. Remember the second time, kind of scared to do it because
Right.
it it was like a lot. It was a lot. Of course, the pain lasted a second because then after it would go away. It wasn't hurting
Mm,
anymore. But
hmm.
it was a complete shock to the body that, you know, it's um but I know there are people that question the technique or whatnot. All I can say is that I have my story and I can guide myself through that and be like, okay, maybe it works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me,
Definitely.
at the moment, it's what, you know, it worked for me. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the work Dr. Johnson is doing and has done.
Hmm.
And now that he's retiring, he's being replaced by his Tristan Went. He's going to be replacing Dr. Johnson
Okay.
at that office. Um,
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
didn't know he was thinking about retirement already.
yeah. It's been a couple of years. He mentored Tristan, um, and Tristan went up to Palmer Davenport,
Yeah.
and he just graduated just now, this
Oh
last couple
nice.
of days. So
Yeah.
it's nice that the legacies keep it keeps on going, and I know it'll just benefit a lot more people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but yeah, it was the similar to the Y strap technique. Um,
Okay.
very very shocking to the body to say the
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
All right, great. Hey, I was going to ask, in New Zealand, you're going to go to school in New Zealand. So,
Mhm.
like, is it something when you're doing your research for the school, like, hey, did something really popped out to you that made you want to go over there?
Yeah, yeah. So, New Zealand, the first exposure to that college was back in 2021. Um, well, back in 21, last year,
Mm,
the beginning of last year, where I found out about the school through the Pre-Chiro podcast on YouTube.
okay.
And I have to recommend that podcast to every pre-chiropractic and every chiropractic student out there, because I always say it's a gold mine for students. The
Yeah.
amount and wealth of information that's available to students, from pre-chiro students to chiropractic students to faculty of schools all around the world,
Yeah.
to college presidents, to chiropractors that have been in office for a year,
Yeah.
3, 5, up to 40. I go back and rewatch the videos because, I sometimes I miss something in certain
Right.
videos. It's a tremendous tool and resource for students, and that's how I found out about the college, because it was an interview of, at the time, college president,
Yeah.
um, and I started to consider chiropractic outside the U.S.
Mm,
My first goal and all my efforts led to me applying to schools here in the U.S.
right.
At the time, it was 2021, early 2021, um, or it was like around June 2021, actually. And I reached out to the school. I was still working on my prereqs, so I wasn't um, finished with those.
Yeah.
New Zealand was closed last year,
Mm,
so they only have one intake per year. It's at the beginning of the year in January. At the time, now it's February, but um, they were not open for the 2022 intake. So I
okay.
had to um, reconsider my options because it wasn't a possibility, and I
Yeah.
wanted to start chiropractic college in 2022.
Mm,
I didn't want to wait until 23, but yeah, I found out about the school then. And so then I transitioned to just looking at schools in the U.S. At one point,
mhm,
I did look at Barcelona College in Spain. Also, I knew about it from the Pre-Chiro podcast, where students were interviewed, or the college president and other staff at the school. Um, Substantially cheaper option to study chiropractic. I think the cost of the school is about $10,000 per year, and they have about 5 years of schooling there.
okay.
They didn't have any financing options, so ultimately, I didn't consider that any longer either.
Yeah.
So I transferred to schools in the U.S., and really it was Life West, Life University in Georgia was my top choice, and
Mm,
Sherman College of Chiropractic. Um, so I finished all my prereqs this summer. I did double time, and in order to finish all of them,
yeah.
because I start in the fall of 22. So right now, for some reason, they were having some issues with my credits, or some schools were requiring a couple more classes.
Mm,
And honestly, I thought I had done all that I needed to do.
mhm,
So they were giving me options to sort of start in the spring of 23. So given that situation that arose, I said, okay, let me look at other options then, what I can do to start in 2023, because I knew
yeah.
New Zealand would only 2023.
Yeah.
So I applied to the school. All my prerequisites checked off with them.
Nice.
Um, so it's a different process that I had with other schools here in the U.S. So then, when I had the opportunity to apply, and I spoke with family, I spoke with friends, and it's a big transition going to not only to another country but to the other side of the planet.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I just kind of went through the process. I applied. Um, all my prerequisites met the requirements. Um, had the interview, which was about an hour interview with the
Hmm.
admissions. The interview was, I won't say it was hard, but it was it was substantially, um, uh, it was loaded interview, I guess. So a
Okay.
lot of different that had little to do with chiropractic. Of course, they still ask you those initial questions: why chiropractic,
Yeah.
or what is you? But a lot of it had to do with character,
Mm,
and kind of your profile. They wanted to make sure that you mesh well with the rest of the culture at the school,
right.
and with chiropractic too. After that, you have to do like an analytical test, which also lasted about 45 minutes to an hour, and you have to pay a deposit. And then after that, if all goes well, um, they give you all the paperwork to then do the whole visa process. And that's where I'm at right now with them.
Mm, okay.
Um, so when all that kind of transpired and happened, I said, okay, well, I guess that's my only choice. And
Yeah.
I think I need opportunity. I thought about it, all the pros and cons of moving to another country.
Right.
Um, all that stuff came into my mind. But ultimately, all the pros were about the school, and all the cons were kind of subjective. I think one of the
Yeah.
only that I kind of came up with was the distance,
Yeah.
uh, being away from family or from friends or whatnot.
It's definitely a step out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah.
it's a pretty subjective con because once you're there, and it's not far
Hmm.
anymore. You're there. So,
Right.
uh, all the cons have nothing to do with the school or the philosophy at the school, and so that kind of made me get more comfortable with the decision.
Okay.
Um, so that's when I said, okay, I guess I'm not doing chiropractic in the U.S. I'm looking
Yeah.
outside the U.S.
Yeah.
and I think it's a very neat opportunity. Another big pro about my decision to New Zealand is the New Zealand college works with the U.S. Department of Education and
Okay.
providing grad plus loans to students, to U.S. students.
Oh, nice. Nice.
That was pretty unheard of for a school outside the U.S. to provide that option for U.S. students.
Yeah.
Um, that alone also made me um, decide on that school too. So
Okay.
that possibility, so it opened up. It became an
Yeah.
option for me, really. And also the cost of the school is less than the
Yeah.
U.S. Um, especially now with the currency exchange rates. I think for every U.S. dollar you have about $1.80 New Zealand, so
Nice.
almost. And I think tuition for the year is about I don't know the exact number, but anywhere from 18 to 21,000 per year.
Probably a lot lesser than Palmer West right now.
I mean, schools in the U.S. I guess have a pretty standard, I guess, tuition cost. In
Yeah.
New Zealand, it's about more or less about $50,000 less than here. So that was another
Okay.
selling point for me. It is a 4-year program, um, and a lot of the things that were brought to my attention about the school really convinced me that this is a really neat opportunity that I don't think I should let go. So
Yeah.
or let and yeah, that's how I got to New Zealand College. I've spoken to students that are there from the U.S., from Canada,
Hmm.
and I get the feel of how the school is. Of course, they went through the world went through a whole pandemic,
Right.
and New Zealand closed, so they weren't receiving any international students.
Mm.
20 um, since 2020, they haven't. So it's been 2 years since they haven't had any international students.
Oh, wow.
Um, um, so yeah, it's very unique opportunity, and I hope the visa process works out, and I get to document my journey at the school.
Yeah.
Um, just add to the conversation of chiropractic and the chiropractic world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. So to kind of segue into that, I connected with you through your Instagram page. Can
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about that page and what it's called and why you're doing it?
Yeah, certainly. So it's called the Chiropractic Student.
Mhm.
For me, I'm a very, I guess, visual person. I learn a lot visually. And when I started going into learning about chiropractic, I looked for other students that were going through the same process.
Hmm.
And there are a few students here in the US that do have YouTube channels, and one in particular is one student from, well, now Dr. Gage. He did Life University, and
Hmm.
I started when he first started, and now he's a doctor of chiropractic. And he provided so many tips on schools, on what the day looked like for a chiropractic student, testing, exams, what does first and second year look like, third and fourth. Um, so many tools and resources that are available to students that for me were very valuable. And other students that go to Parker, students that go to Palmer Davenport.
Hmm.
Uh, so for me, it was just adding to the conversation, adding to what's already there for students, and just
Yeah.
everyone has a unique story, right? Everyone's unique in their own way. Everyone brings something to the table that somebody else might miss, or just whatever it is. We all have and carry something unique to us,
Yeah.
and that was the main purpose and mission behind the channel that I created just a couple of days ago,
Hmm.
where I wanted to just provide another story in
Yeah.
chiropractic, my personal journey, and also give voice to other options of that students have for chiropractic. Look at
Yeah.
other schools in the U.S., outside the U.S. So there's so much to chiropractic that I feel, while there's a lot online, a lot more can also be done, and
Yeah.
it's just my way of doing a bit more, and just,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So I
Yeah.
started that days ago, and my main goal is to simply reach out to other students, um, and just provide like roadmaps for students to see, oh, what does it look like to study here? What does it look like to study there?
Right.
Uh, Become a chiropractor. Um, what schooling is required? All these things that we all know, but it's nice to have them kind of visually
Yeah.
prepared for people.
It'll
Uh,
definitely be a good resource, especially for people that are thinking about going into chiropractic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Man, but
Um,
you have an amazing story. You have a
Thank you.
great introduction to chiropractic and a great drive as to how it helped you, and now you want to take a step and help other people through it, and eventually
Yeah,
be a chiropractor as well.
totally. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the mission, and it's more than a profession for me. It's a calling. It's just a passion. I really get
Yeah.
passionate with chiropractic because it changed who I was in my life, and I know it changes people. I read stories
Hmm.
of miracles that happen with chiropractic that are just too much to bear at times,
Hmm.
and it to be able to witness that is just something else. And I'm super excited to share this profession with so many people, um, that are also giving their lives to it. So it's a
Yeah.
great thing.
Well, man, I appreciate you hopping on here and doing this interview with me. And I'm really looking forward to your journey to your schooling. I'm sure there's going to be another interview at some point in the future, just as your page grows, as your student journey continues. And I'm looking forward to it, man. Keeping an eye out on you.
So thank
Let
you so
everyone
much for,
else know too.
yeah, totally. Yeah. No, thank you for the invitation, for the platform. I'm
Yeah.
really grateful of your time and this space too.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, so I'll look forward to the next interview, but I'll let the people know. Hey, one more time, what is your page and where can they follow you?
Yeah. So it's the chiropractic dot student on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok as well.
Nice, nice. And this is Mauricio, everybody.
Yeah.
Dr. Mauricio in the future. All
Yeah.
right, I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.